Welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, I am Amy from A Red Spatula, and today I'm going to be showing you how to make a really chewy, perfect spelt pizza dough recipe. Now I'm using this to make a pan pizza that is inspired by Peter Reinhardt's pan pizza book, which I absolutely love. I'll link that in the description below. This dough it's an artisan dough, so it's simple to make, but it does take a long time. So it's an overnight dough. It's got a cold ferment, but you don't need a stand mixer or anything like that. It's all done by hand. Now, as always, of course, don't forget to subscribe. You don't want to miss any of the new videos coming out. And let's go ahead. Okay, now I said we're not using a stand mixer, and here I am showing you a stand mixer. The stand mixer simplifies this first part of the process, but you do not have to use it. You're going to see why here in just a minute. But what you want to do is you want to throw all of your ingredients together in a bowl or in a stand mixer like I'm using, and you can see that I used whole grain spelt flour here, and also that I used 00 pizza flour from Italy. Now you're going to mix this together. This is Peter Reinhardt's method, and it is the best. So we're going to mix this together for about 30 seconds. I'm showing you here. The dough is going to be shaggy, it's going to be rough, but it's not a big deal. Now once it's mixed together for 30 seconds, what we're going to do, this is what it looks like at the end of that 30 to 60 seconds. We're just going to let it rest for about 5 to 10 minutes, and then we're going to mix it again for another 30 seconds. And then once this is done, we're going to start this process, this artisan process, I guess. Now, one of the things that he talks about a lot is working on an oil slick. If you've never used this before, basically what it is it's a few tablespoons of oil that you're going to put out onto your surface. It keeps the dough from sticking. You use it in place of flour, so you don't incorporate in any more flour. It's super easy to do. So put down just a little bit of olive oil on the countertop, and then you're going to turn out your dough. Now you're going to notice it's a sticky dough, and that's what it should be. Obviously, whole grain flours absorb a lot more moisture, so at this point you want it to be really sticky. Now we're going to use this series of stretches and folds, and we're going to do it 4 different times. Every time you do this, you cover it with a bowl, which I've always done it with a towel, but he says to cover it with a bowl, and I actually like that a lot better. So here we are. This is the second time. Now you can either use your hands like I showed you in the first one, or he recommends using a bowl scraper for this. Either way works. And then we're going to repeat this process several times, and what you're going to notice is every time you stretch this, and if you've done any type of sourdough breads, it's the same concept here. We're developing the gluten through this process instead of a stand mixer. So here we go again. I think this is our third, or maybe this is our final time, I'm not sure. But then you can see the dough is very smooth, very easy to work with, very elastic. It feels really good. Now once you're done doing the stretch and fold process, we are going to move it into the fridge, and it's going to get a cool rise. The cool rise does a couple of things. Obviously, it's a cool rise, just like it sounds like, so it's going to take a little bit of time for the dough to rise and develop. This can be anywhere in between 12 and 72 hours. I really feel like 30 is the pretty perfect amount for spelt flour. This is just my personal opinion. Of course, you can try and see what you like. So it develops flavors, it hydrates that whole grain flour, which makes it so much easier to work with. Now just make sure that you cover the top. I always do this with a plastic wrap. That seems to hold in the moisture the best. If not, you're going to form a crust on the top, and you don't want to do this. Now the next day when you're ready to use it, I started mine fairly early in the morning. That's why the lighting's so ugly, and I apologize for that. But when you're ready to start, now I did this in a pan pizza style like Peter Reinhardt shows in his book. So what you're going to do is you're going to spray your pan to begin with pan release, or even like melted butter, brush it on. You're going to put a little bit of oil in the pan, and then you're going to divide the dough between 2 different pans. These are 9x9 pans. And then I like to put just a little bit more oil on the top. And then we're going to start with this dimpling process here. So what you're going to do is every 20 minutes, you're going to, just like I'm showing, you're going to dimple your fingers, and what that's going to do is it's going to push the dough out. So start filling up your pan in kind of a level way. Again, make sure you cover this. You don't want to develop that skin on the top. Now this is going to take probably about an hour, usually is what mine takes me. So let it rest for 20 minutes, come in, dimple it again. As you dimple it, you're pushing it out into the areas that it hasn't already filled in. Don't spend a lot of time. Don't overwork the dough. This is supposed to be a pretty gentle process. Then you'll cover it, of course, and then we're going to do this for one last time. This is where we're at. This is our third time of dimpling it. This is at an hour now at this point. And then your dough, you can see it's already starting to come up to, it was chilled when I put it in the pan. It's already starting to come up to room temperature, and that's exactly what you want. Now, here, this is another one of his suggestions, and I think it's really good. He doesn't shred his mozzarella, he cubes it instead. And then prior to the last rise that he gives it, he puts this mozzarella on top like you see that I'm doing here. He even encourages you to put it all the way up to the edges so that you get some of that cheese in the edges as well. Now what this does is that it allows that cheese, when the dough is rising, the cheese gets kind of swallowed up in that dough. So here we are, we're 3 hours later, it's risen, it's almost filled the whole pan, and then we're going to make it just like a pepperoni pizza. When I was in Italy this last summer, this was very similar to the filled focaccias that we had in Cinque Terre, and we absolutely loved it. Now he also uses the cubed cheese on top as well here, which is kind of interesting. I'd never done it before his recommendation. Then once it's filled and it's ready to go, it goes right into a really hot oven. I'll put all this information in the description. And then when it comes out, you can see it looks just like this. It is light, it's airy, it's crunchy around the edges, and it is perfect.